Hello everyone, my name is Emily and I am coming to you from the Grafton Public Library, and I am here to talk to you today about a Lots of Lizards program that we've been advertising for a little while. So welcome, and again my name is Emily. We are going to be meeting some really cool little friends today, and before we do that we're going to talk about some characteristics of them so we know what to expect. This week is Fantasy Week here at the Grafton Public Library, and I don't know about you, but when I think of fantasy, I often think of dragons, and a lot of dragons are actually based on some of our reptile friends, as I'm sure you will come to see very soon. So, we are going to first start out with some of the characteristics of our reptiles or lizards. First characteristic we're going to talk about is the fact that these are vertebrates. So just like us, they do have a backbone that obviously is very beneficial for them as they move around or slither around or however they need to move. That allows for some flexibility in obviously the movement, but also just in their body form in general. It allows them to jump and to run and to do things that maybe insects aren't as capable of doing. So just like us, they have that backbone, they have that vertebrae, and that is one of their characteristics. Second, we're going to talk about is the fact that these guys are cold-blooded. And you may have heard this term. Hopefully you're familiar with the term cold-blooded. It's not totally accurate. We don't want to think of reptiles as actually having cold blood, because it's not necessarily true. The scientific term for this is that they are ectotherms. And ectotherms actually rely on outside sources of heat. So ecto is kind of like outside. So they're relying on the sun or warm things to warm them up, which is why you'll often see them basking either in the sun or on a warm rock, and they have to use that heat from outside sources to actually be able to move. Whereas we use our own energy from food to generate our own heat. Actually, if you are familiar with some areas down in Florida or other places that are a little warmer that can have more of a lizard population, a lot of times if it starts dropping too cold temperature-wise, they might get out warnings and say, hey, like, watch out for falling iguanas in the trees. And that actually does happen if it does get too cold in some parts of the country. You'll have iguanas and some reptiles not able to physically move because they are so cold. So kind of an interesting, fun, weird fact. Our third characteristic is that these guys lay eggs. So obviously we have live young. Most of our lizards are laying eggs. Now, some do have live birth, and that's really interesting. The largest species of snakes come from the boa family, and they do have live young, but they are still laying eggs inside the mother, but they're actually hatching in the mother as well, so they do give birth to live little snakes. But they do in general lay eggs. Obviously that's a distinction that they have. The fourth thing we're going to talk about is that they have scales. So when you think of scales, you often think of like a snake, but scales can come in all different sizes and shapes and roughnesses and thicknesses. So all of our reptiles do have some type of scales, and these are adapted to however they need to live, whether that's sliding across surfaces or trying to be very smooth through the sea, and that's obviously the thickness is going to vary as well depending on what needs to be done. Even things that you don't necessarily think of as having scales do actually need to shed skin and get rid of some of that old stuff as they grow and mature. So things like turtles even will get rid of the scales, if you want to call them that, in the back of their shell. They call their scutes, and those will get older as they grow as well. So some cool characteristics. We are now going to look at some of the different groups that we associate with our lizards. First one we're going to talk about is our crocodilians. And hopefully you guys know kind of what this group is about. The name is very similar to some of the animals in it. So our crocodilians, of course, include your crocodiles. I'm going to scoot you a little closer so that you can see. Our crocodilians include crocodiles, of course, alligators, and caimans. If you're not familiar with caimans, they're like a smaller version of an alligator, with the exception of the black caiman, which can get over 20 feet long, which is pretty crazy. But yes, our first group, crocodilians. We also have our testudines. These are your turtles, your terrapins, your tortoises. A fun fact, a terrapin is actually a freshwater or brackish water turtle. So we don't typically use that word in the U.S., but in other parts of the world they actually make a distinction whether they're talking about a sea turtle or a smaller kind of aquarium turtle that would be in fresh water. So they call those terrapins. That's like your box turtle, your snapping turtle, some stuff like that. So those are our turtles. We also have our largest group, and these are called squamata. So that is based on the Latin root squam for scale. These are going to be our snakes and our lizards. We're going to be looking at this group a little more in-depthly today with some of our creatures, but that does make up the largest percentage of our reptile order. Our last one is a group called Rhinocerophilia. I may have mispronounced that. That is just a single species that lives in New Zealand. It's the species is called a tuartua. It's kind of like a large iguana kind of thing. You're welcome to look more into that if you want, but we will not really be covering that too much more today. So now that you know a little bit more about our creatures, let's get to the fun part. I'm going to adjust you guys so that you're better able to see some of the friends we've brought along. All right. And my first friend for you today is a crested gecko. And he's pretty excitable, so he might try to escape. I got him when he was a little older. Oh, here he goes. I got him when he was a little older. So I think that he still believes that I am trying to eat him, which is why he always tries to run away from me. I'm trying to let you guys see. And I will exercise him with something called hand walking. So he will jump from hand to hand. And it sounds kind of scary. It is kind of scary because he's pretty quick. But luckily he will move his head to kind of project where he wants to go. They are called crested geckos because they have this beautiful crest. Oh, behave. Come on, sir. And let's see if I can get him to jump for you. There you go. Woo. He's quick, like I said. Very, very beautiful. I'm trying to let you see his coloration more. He's pretty, he's not as stressed right now, so he's a little lighter. This can get a little darker if you see that coloration on his back. Most of them will have a tail. They can drop it, though, if they get really stressed. And he obviously dropped his tail when he was a little younger before I got him. So he does not regrow that tail. But he's able to function just fine without it. It's just a little stubby there. And he's actually behaving quite nicely. Another feature I want to point out on him is that he has some really nice toe pads. So if I can just adjust him for you. Come here, sir. So he uses those toe pads obviously to climb and to stick on a lot of different things. Nice big feet. There you go. They are an arboreal species, which means they spend a lot of their lives in the trees, high up where predators can't get them. And obviously that coloration, he's kind of grabbing onto me right now with those toe pads. It's pretty crazy. Obviously that coloration is going to help them a lot as they try to blend in with the foliage up in the trees. So there he is. He is him specifically, he is a herbivore. So he's not eating any insects or anything. I gave him a fruit blend when he's at home with me. As a species in general, though, they are omnivores. They can eat crickets, but he individually does not. eat crickets. He's just not really interested in them. I have tried to give them to him, but there he is. You can see that beautiful coloration change too. He's a little lighter on the top there, but he is actually being really good. He's not trying to escape too much, so maybe he's getting used to me a little more. All right, so say goodbye. Goodbye. His name is Rhaegar, and that is our crested gecko. So we're going to put him away. Thanks, sir. Thank you. Let go. All right. Don't worry, I don't normally keep him in here. That's just his traveling case. He has a much bigger habitat back at home. All right, our other friend. This is a leopard gecko. Come here, sir. Oh, okay. This is Vincent. And Vincent has actually been hanging out in the library for about a week now, and he's going to continue to hang out for another week. He is a leopard gecko, and you can see why with that beautiful coloration on his back. So he is a little more used to me, as you can see. We have an understanding. I give him food, and he lets me delight in him. He's such a fun little guy. Another reason that I think they call them leopard geckos is because of the way they stalk their food. So I'd imagine it's kind of similar to a leopard in the wild, and I hope that you guys are able to see that today. I'm feeding him mealworms. Oh, here you go. I'm feeding him mealworms today. Usually he eats crickets, but I didn't want to release crickets into the library. Oh, and he sees it. So let's see if he goes after it. Keep an eye on his tail. Sometimes he'll wag it really quick. It's really fun. Oh, I don't know if you heard that crunch, but he got him. All right, come here. Hey. And if you look closely, I'm going to try to get him to turn around a little bit. Come here, sir. Turn around. Oh, okay. Hey, look. He's using his tongue to kind of smell or taste the air. It's all kind of one sense for them. Oh, look at that. Oh. And he has eaten now, so he might not be super hungry, but we'll see. He's usually pretty game for more food. And he does like to see that food's moving. Oh, yeah, there you go. Yum, 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 yum. So he is, as well as Rhaegar, the lizard we just looked at, he is nocturnal. There's a debate online whether our leopard geckos are nocturnal versus crepuscular. So nocturnal, of course, being up during the night, and crepuscular being most active at dawn and dusk. So we can just say nocturnal for now. He has a nice tail back here as well. He still has not dropped his tail. I try to keep him pretty stress-free. So he has a nice thick tail. That's where they store fat. So he wouldn't actually have to eat for quite a while. He could just live off the fat stores that he has in his tail. So it's nice that he still has that. They can regrow their tail. If they do drop it off, it takes a few months. Oh, he sees it. Yum, 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 yum. Oh, I missed again. It's very intent. You can see he kind of like crouches up a little bit. He's probably having a hard time right now because the table is very similar colored to the mealworm. Go, go, go. Usually he, again, is used to crickets, and they're a little easier to distinguish in the cage. Table's also kind of slidey. Come on. You got it. He's just like pushing it. Maybe he's just playing with his food. I should have taught him better. This poor mealworm is probably terrified. might need to put him back in the cage for him to catch it if it's going to be keeping so slidey. He's definitely moving. He's going after him. Oh, okay. There you go. All right. So that is Vincent, and you are certainly very welcome to come in and check him out. He's going to be at the library, like I said, about another week. So he would love to see you guys. Put him back in his cage. Here you go, sir. All right. Excellent. All right. So that is all I have for you today. Hopefully you enjoyed the program and are enjoying our other summer reading programs. If you have not signed up for Beanstack, be sure to do that. Some of the books I used when putting together this presentation are here. I will show those to you. We also have a variety of other resources as well in the library for you on this and many other subjects. So come in and see us for your reptile needs or for your other anything needs. We're very excited to see you. So that is all I have for you today. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you later, hopefully. Bye.